Okay, I have started the recording. This is the Pod Management and VOLTHA FCAPS Brigade meeting for December 9th, 2019. This meeting is recorded and the recording will be made available on our YouTube site. So please keep in mind during the meeting that this is a public meeting. We'll get started with JIRA status from everyone. So, starting at the top is Naga. Could you please give your status, Naga?
Yeah, hi, Scott. So 896, 890, and 2271 are merged, and the tickets are resolved. And 2324 have dropped a mail to Jason related to some proto changes which are required to it. There might be some code changes, if not the proto changes. And 895 have commented on that. There is a indications required to it, and those were not present. And and I have started on-demand KPI fetch using this thing. That ticket number is 2275. So this thing I have done started with the initial steady thing, like what all parameters we can fetch it. So currently I have just gone through with the BAL APIs, and I couldn't find the UNI, the Ethernet status, and the link status, which are mentioned as part of it. So is it like Redfish APIs will be helpful here, or the BAL only is the way to proceed for this one? I'm not sure. Like, I just did an initial study of it, so that part I need to is it required from the Redfish, or is it doable from the agent side? That's a query.
Yeah, I think this story here may encompass several different techniques. For example, I know OnCar is working on an on-demand API for some of the ONT related items on the list, and we'll talk about that in more detail. I think he's got a short presentation when we get to his status. The OLT stuff may
Oh,
be doable with Redfish. I think one of our thoughts was maybe we can just query the Redfish API directly. Yeah, here's a note down here that the ONT part of the story is tracked with another story. But yeah,
yeah.
maybe these OLT ones are doable through Redfish. I would think part of this task is to go through all of these various pieces of information and see if there are other stories that cover them. This should be thought of as sort of an umbrella story for the various other stories that might implement parts of this. So going through each
Oh,
group of information, find out if there's a story that covers it. If not, does a new story need to be written? I think that would be useful if you could do that.
But
okay.
ONU data will be taken from OLT, right, through OMCI.
For the ONTs, yeah, through OMCI. So Ankar can speak more about that when we get to his status, but that has to go through like a test action that gets plumbed through OMCI to the ONT.
So for the OLT related status query, those will be from the Redfish, right?
Yeah, I think so. Dinesh, you have any comment on that? We should, with the exception of the RX power, which we're currently talking about needing to get plumbed through. I think the rest of these OLT stats are available in Redfish.
Like Unistats, link status up and down, bit error, and some ONT ranged indications.
Yeah, I don't
So
think
this
those
the
ones are in Redfish.
Yeah, that's why what I was saying is for ONU, anyway, we have to go through OLT via OMCI to get the data, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So then why don't we do everything through OLT agent?
Another,
Uh,
I believe the
yeah, Scott, shall I answer this question?
Yeah, sure, Ankar, if you could fill in what part you're doing on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so basically, Dinesh, the thing is that when we hit OMCI actions, so the thing is that the OLT will only forward these packets. OLT never decoupled it. So that's why the path is from the OLT only, but the OMCI action we have to implement at the adapter level of VOLTA. So there is a specific
Yeah,
OMCI.
that
Yeah.
that I agree, because you have to go through OLT to ONU via OMCI, because that's how the communication is.
um, The OLT, oh yeah, that's the thing. The OLT only do the forwarding of packets and just getting the response of packet. It won't decouple it anything.
Yeah, but in this case, half the stuff will be done via OLT and half the stuff will be done via Redfish, right?
You're talking about this OMCI action, how it is implemented?
No, about Naga's Jira.
So for this, the
yeah.
OMCI, yeah. So for this OMCI test action, we have implemented NEG as an entity with 263 as a class ID. So for this, we need to create a frame, and that frame has to go like by using the test action. So all these ONT related stuff like power optical voltage, like laser bias current, and all these have implemented. The periodic polling task is already implemented. So you can see the file name omci underscore test underscore request.py. So these file have all the test action implementation code, and it is triggered from the BRCM OpenONU handler in def activate method. So you can see there.
Scott, I believe whatever APIs are readily available from the Redfish, that will be the first priority, and then whichever is not available, then we are actually going ahead with implementing on the agent side, right?
Yeah, I think that sounds fine because those things, I think it would not make sense to add them to Redfish. I mean, that would be the other option would be to add them to Redfish and have all of the OLT stuff available through Redfish. But yeah, it's interesting that we have different mechanisms for different things here, and I think that's a little bit confusing. So I do think clearly designating what we're going to get through which mechanism would be handy. So Oncar's work for this top batch of ONT stuff, then Redfish for this OLT stuff. Then we've got this Uniport stuff.
Yeah,
That comes from the
that's why I was
ONT.
thinking why use two mechanism.
So Dinesh, you
Yeah,
were
that's why I
thinking,
was thinking why use.
would instead of using
I
two
was thinking
mechanisms,
instead of.
I think we keep stepping on each other. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking instead of using two mechanism, why don't we get everything to OLT agent, whatever we need?
Rather than getting it through Redfish.
Yeah, means if it is possible, because or if you can get everything through Redfish, I'm not sure about that, because I don't think it sends bit errors and things like that. Redfish is more about the current status. It doesn't count any traffic parameters or matrices or something like that. So
I
it
know these
just
are
depends,
again,
I think.
Dinesh, these are the real-time current data fetch. So what are the PM stats which are scheduled? Those are different. This thing. This story is for direct query, current data.
Yeah, but it is not transient data, right?
Oh no, the current.
Under this mechanism, the agent for both the PM and the current data is the same, right?
This is a direct query, like the current stats when they are trying. So the redfish will be providing the current real-time data, right?
No, did
Yeah,
you
that's
answer?
what I'm saying. That redfish may not give you the stats. It will give the state of the device or port or things like that, or any information about the device, but not the stats.
Okay, so like the
Maybe you can.
Yeah, which
You didn't.
ones are you meaning specifically when you're saying stats, Dinesh?
Means stats in the sense like he was mentioning bit errors and stuff like that, where we count for each event. That I don't think redfish supports that, but
Yeah,
you
so
can,
this
Naga, you can
lowest
start
part
an
down
email thread
here.
yeah.
so whatever the data which Scott is presenting, right? So the like bit error count downstream, upstream, the link status up and down.
Yeah, I
So
don't
those
think I don't think redfish will give that, but you can start an email thread and I can add edge core guys to it to see if we provide it to redfish or not.
okay. So like
Maybe then if you get everything through redfish, then you might want to use redfish for one thing and OLT adapt agent for another thing. But if you don't get everything through redfish, then I would suggest get everything through OLT agent.
or we can like something like the pawn stats we can rely on the agent, and the redfish can provide the hardware details of the VoLTE.
That's the other thing I asked,
Yeah,
right?
hardware.
Underneath, right, for the stats like the PM and for the current, right, underneath agent, right, like it's a similar API mechanism, correct? I mean, I'm asking you the question.
To me?
No, to Naga or to Omkar.
Probably Omkar can give like he has API already for ONU stats.
So can you repeat the
No.
questions?
Okay. Let's take stats out of the picture. My question is that the PM and the current information, one is the periodic PM, right? And the other one is the current data, what you want, right? So these are the two things which, which are the information which needs to be retrieved, right? And underneath there is an agent, right? And my question is that do you have two different mechanisms in the agent for both of them, or it will be a one mechanism?
It is only one mechanism only for like you are talking about the agent which resides on
Correct.
VoLTE, that
The agent side.
the agent side. No, it's only one mechanism. The thing is that only we have to send the request from the Volta to the agent. That's it. For the in case of PM metrics or anything, we use OMCI CC as a channel. So that would be a single mechanism only.
Correct. So the reason I was trying to ask you is like when it comes to like PM, right? There are certain I don't want to take this discussion, but I am working on some PMs basically for layer 2 stats, right? So this all thing encapsulates under the same design.
Okay, with the on-demand API you're talking about.
With the on-demand API and the PM.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
let me refresh the whole thing, which I am looking and you guys are working. Let me refresh this, right? From the there are two things which the adapter is getting the information. One would be the PM, and other one is the current information. And in each of them, there would be like the physical parameters, like like the the signal power, temperature, voltage, the physical parameters, right? I mean, they are also current, like the current or the whatever the PM. I don't know about the PM part, but the physical parameter, and other one is the Ethernet stats parameters. Am I clear?
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the things which the whole of thing is encapsulated, right? Am I clear or I'm not?
Yeah, I'm getting some.
Or should I repeat the whole thing again?
Yeah, but the thing is that like I'm not exactly getting what is the like what is the exact point you are looking at.
Oh, what I mean to say is this whole thing is one entity and we should have a common design and architecture.
So as per like the implementation, the performance. So PM is basically a performance metric interval. So these are implemented by using OpenOMCI state machine cycles. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. So these are the basically a state machine implementation have implemented. For the other thing, like you are talking about the Ethernet frame or anything like which is a specific to on-demand service, which is a new part we have discussed, which is like on a real time we have to do this mechanism. So basically user can request and get the real time response.
Okay, I don't know about the state machine.
The performance.
Design.
So you can find this state machine in OpenOMCA agent.py file, where once the OLT in the OLT activation, you can have these different steps are available. So in that only the PM is specifically mean for the performance metrics, and there are a couple of entities are there in performance metric groups, and in that we have these Ethernet or other informations are available. And talking about this on-demand API stuff, this on-demand API stuff is related to retrieve the operational parameters, and these operational parameters are in the form of power voltage, optical signal, temperature, and laser bias current. And these parameters are available when we implement this OMCI test action with the entity called NEG with 263. So you can find this information in G988 document. So there is
I'm more interested with the implementation. What I was trying to say was the implementation should have a common architecture.
Okay.
And you mentioned like a source code, right? Like if you can send me the email, I can of course email with the source code. I will take a look at the implementation.
Okay, for performance metric you are talking about?
No, what you have done so that I am doing the PM and
okay, I can send you the mail, no problem.
Yeah, I think maybe to clarify with Ankar, just to show what issue you're working on, Dilip, let me just bring it up on the page. So the issue Dilip is working on here is performance metric for Ethernet layer 2, collecting statistics on how many packets of given sizes are going through and that sort of thing.
Okay, So Scott,
And
Just to
these
give some context.
yeah, I got this. I got this. So Scott, just only one question. We want to implement this as a periodic polling, or we want to implement this as a on-demand API service?
this is PM.
Yeah, PM it's okay. The PM is basically achieved in Volta earlier in a form of state machine, Scott. This is right.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So there should be the PM state machine should be implemented in Volta. It should periodically request these statistics from the ONU over OMCI and then publish them on Kafka.
And for this, I think
Yes.
we need a Ethernet extended packets information of OMCI. This is the thing, right? For this information, we are getting with the Ethernet extended package.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think you have.
But I think
Yeah, Dinesh, go ahead.
I think on demand and periodic are two separate things, right?
Yes, right. These are the two separate
Yes.
things.
Yeah, they're separate, but they do share some
so-
common mechanism, I think, you know, in the OMCI.
Yes. The only thing is in periodic or the mechanism is only we need to add periodic related stuff, and for the on demand we have a northbound to southbound implementation that is currently I'm working on. But the rest of the packet generation code is getting similar, so we can use that. It's a redundant code
Correct.
basically.
That's what I was trying to clarify and make everybody clear.
Yeah, but the periodic polling and the OMCI on demand API is two different entities.
And on this topic, since we have this 941 up on the share, right? So what this Jira is saying is that you need to get the stats at different places, right? One on the OLT, right? The OLT the NNI and onto the PON side, right? This is on the OLT. And the other one is on the ONU, right? And the ONU more towards the PON side, right? And then the client side, we don't really get the stats here, because it's not collected. So, so these are the things which needs to be collected.
Yeah, that sounds right. So it's calling for three different things here. One of them on the OLT and two of them on the ONT.
Scott, for the 2275, right? Can you please open to 2275?
Sure. Can you see it?
Yeah. So for the UNI and the link status, right? That should be a current data. That should be from the Redfish itself, right? The operation status of ONU or the link, whether it is up or down. So the status part should be from the Redfish.
I don't think Redfish has this. Dinesh?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like whatever parameters you want, you can start an email thread, then we can go through the Redfish stuff and figure out what is available and what is not available.
Okay. So I will start a mail thread so we can actually discuss.
Yeah,
further.
because it's very difficult to have that information on top of it, which parameter Redfish supports and which doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. So
Thanks, Nad.
yeah, thanks.
I think if we could keep a running document someplace of what all is currently available through Redfish, I think that would be advantageous for times like this, so that we have that reference to immediately go to and know what we have now. Yeah, CC me on that email thread, because I do I do recall that some of this may have already been implemented in the adapters, and maybe we can get some of this from the adapters rather than Redfish. I think we need to decide what our criteria is for what we get through Redfish and what we do not. Yeah, so just
Yeah,
keep me in the
That's
loop on that
correct.
thread.
sure, sure. Scott. Yeah, and that's it from my side, Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Naga. Yeah, so just one last point on this story here. This story is made to encapsulate sort of all of the on-demand requirements that go along with the periodic requirements. So the story may be to an extent redundant with other stories. We should, as you're looking at this, see if there is another story that implements part of this functionality. Like, for example, SEBA 749 did implement the ONT optical part, the stuff OnCar's working on. Be aware there may be other stories that implement some of these other parts, and look for those and let me know or link them as appropriate. Anything else, Naga?
That's it. Thanks.
Okay, Devmalia, would you like to give your status?
Yeah, sure. So for the event filtering proto changes, all the open reviews in Gerrit have been merged. So I think right now no one is blocked due to as a result of the migration. Apart from and also I've closed the first two subtasks of the user story, and currently I'm working on the third subtask, which is implement event filtering engine. I have changed the uh, status to in progress. That's it from my side.
Okay, thanks, Devmalia. Do you have an estimate on how long you expect it'll take to implement the event filtering engine?
I think it should be ready by this week.
Okay, great, thanks.
Sure.
Next up would be Dilip. Would you like to give status, Dilip?
Sure. I'm working on the 941, which is the layer 2 Ethernet PM, and this is encapsulates all the Ethernet PMs which can be collected at different points of the monitoring, so that you can do a debugging for the services or packets which are flowing from OLT all the way till the client interface. So looked into this thing and see how to leverage the current work which is done for the OLT implementation in the Python, and and then look into the code base and see that the work which is done from porting of Python to the Go, right, has been correct, and I found some problems because the NNI is correctly ported, and the pawn stats are not correctly ported from Python to Go. So and then I started to implement that part, but later what happened was that those informations are not readily available from the agent. The OLT agent doesn't get like the 64-byte or 128-byte or 256-byte TX RX packet counters, right? Those are not readily available. So after that, then I talked to the the engineers, and then they are still waiting. They opened a case against Broadcom to find how to get the APIs. So I'm kind of blocked over there. Then I started looking into the ONT PMs, and had discussions with the chip, and then I'm looking into there are both the uni side and the ANI side. So I'm seeing what needs to be done over there. So this is what I did. More like investigation and identifying issues.
So who is your contact on the OLT, the driver stuff that you need to have implemented?
I talked with Jason. So he's the the engineer in Taiwan for the OLT PM.
Okay, great, thanks. That's who I figured you were probably in contact with. So one thing that would help is if you could summarize what you found so far, leave a comment down here at the bottom of the story just to let us know that the OLT part is Jason is looking into that, and then what you expect to have to do on the ONU and ONT parts. So kind of the stuff you and I have talked about over Slack or email, make sure it gets recorded down here as a comment in the story so that people can track what's currently going on with what we're waiting on and such.
Okay, I will do that by today. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So yeah, we had that meeting with Chip. I thought Chip gave us a very productive, thorough discussion of that last Friday. I'm hoping that's been helpful. Is there anything else that you could use help with, Dilip?
No, I guess I just wanted to make sure that the whole of PM Ethernet will also be in line with the physical parameters, right? Which Omkar or Naga, I guess, right? They are doing. So I just wanted to, everything should be, there should be similar architecture. That's why I just wanted to get everybody in the same loop. It's not like once you start developing, you kind of go into a rat hole, and you don't want to, kind of stick to your boundary. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Having consistent mechanism is good. The only caveat with this is that there are certain things that the redfish that we get from redfish rather than through the adapter. So that is, I think, fundamentally a different mechanism. The stuff we're getting through redfish.
My question is more about the adapter implementation.
Right. I agree. We should keep the adapter implementation consistent, and if you guys keep in coordination with other and keep in coordination with me, we'll coordinate the effort on that, and through patch review as well. Keep an eye on what everybody is doing, and make sure we're all implementing a cohesive approach to that.
Correct. Yeah.
Anything else, Dilip?
But Scott, I have a question. We already did all this PM and on-demand thing on 1.7, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we just have to move the same thing to 2.0.
Some of the ONU part is not done in 1.7, and OLT is done in 1.7.
Yeah. What I mean is we should follow the same architecture, right? Why it should be different for 2.0?
1.7 and 2.0 is more, of course, it's a porting effort, right? But the engineers definitely have put their thoughts into and done and have worked on it. So it's not that you do your part like you did in 1.7 and you expect the other guy has done the similar way of doing it into 2.0 for the other power or anything like that.
Okay. No, what I was saying is why reinvent the wheel again?
No, we are not reinventing. We want to make sure that whatever is done by both the people, how we are moving should be in a similar fashion, whatever.
Yeah, Dinesh, I think this is
Yeah,
primarily a
got it.
porting effort of bringing over what we had before into the new code base. You know, the new code base being written in Golang for most of it instead of Python. There's a lot of stuff that simply had to be rewritten. The goal is not to redesign it or re-implement it in a different way, but re-implement it consistent with how we've done other performance metrics. So I wouldn't think of this as trying to go off in different directions. I would think of this as sticking with the same direction and just bringing the new code base up to parity with what we had before, as well as filling in gaps that might have existed in the old code as well.
Got it.
And there's a
Yeah,
missing
got
code
it.
in the
Thanks.
1.7, right? So
Yeah, 1 by 7 was by no means complete everywhere. So they're probably you will probably encounter looking at 1.7 feature gap in certain places. Yeah, so don't expect nobody should expect 1.7 to have necessarily been complete with all of these stories. They're particularly with the on-demand stuff. We were just getting a lot of that done as the transition from 1.7 to 2.0 occurred.
like an example is the
Yeah,
ONU PM. It's not there in 1.7.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So yeah, so this effort is a combination of porting stuff over as well as filling in those feature gaps that might have existed before. So
And make
like
sure we are all in sync.
yeah, and make sure every member is doing it consistent. And as I said, you know, filling in comments on the Jira stories that helps with that. Let us know what you find, what you plan on doing. That way we can all keep an eye on each other's stories and coordinate the effort. We also do have the mailing list group that we created. You know, if we want to create topics in that, the Google group for short discussion. You know, propose a topic. Hey, I'm implementing something. I found a gap here. I know you're implementing a similar thing. You know, let's coordinate on that. That could be a good place to do that and stay visible to the community. However you guys want to do it, but you know, Dileep's point is apt that we do all want to work together on this. Nobody should be going off on a direction on their own. I think we were doing your status, Dileep. Do you have anything to add?
No, pretty much I'm done here.
Next up would be Dinesh.
yeah. So I was working on moving importer to the Go mod um, in a Go module way. So I think I have done most of the implementation. I can push this any week in this week anytime.
Okay, yeah. If the final patch is ready, I'll make a review on that and we'll get that merged. Your next item after that is
Okay.
complete would be to work on the SCA and lint violations and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. After I push that, I move to the next item to fix all the errors in different targets.
Okay, thanks, Dinesh. That sounds good to me. So yeah, we'll keep in touch on that. We'll try to get your current stuff merged so you can start with the next.
Thank you.
Any other status, Dinesh?
No, and I updated the importer API document on Google Doc Drive.
You're asking me a question on that, or you're stating that you have done so?
No. I'm just giving you the status that I updated the document
Okay,
with
great.
current
Yeah,
API.
great. Yeah, thanks for keeping that document in sync. Yeah, it's very helpful to have all of these design documents. Just a general note for the group, you know, if during implementation, you know, things change a little bit, make sure to go back and keep your design document in sync with any changes that might have happened while you were implementing. So Thank you very much, Dinesh, for updating that document.
Yeah, and I will parallelly talk to HCore guys in Taiwan about creating some document where we have all the parameters supported by Redfish. So should it be in the spreadsheet format, or they have a link where they give all the responses on the GitHub, but I wasn't sure in which format this document should be.
If it was something that was concise with a summary, with perhaps links to specific information, I think that'd be ideal. Just so that you can quickly look at it and see what parameters are supported without having to page through volumes of specifics, I think would be handy. So a spreadsheet does sound like an appropriate format if you wanted to do it that way.
Yeah, I think they have there is a OCP baseline profile. So if that profile is in spreadsheet format, then maybe we can use that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, I'll try to work on it.
Anything else, Dinesh?
No, that's it.
Okay, thanks a lot for your status update, Dinesh. Next up would be Divya.
Yeah, hi Scott. I am working on design document of logging implementation, operator logging implementation, and we'll try to complete the design by this week. So we can take that in the next Monday call. Means we can introduce design thing in the call.
Okay, that'll be great. Yeah, I made a note on the story that we will plan to do a presentation on that on Monday and share the design with people on the call. Assuming
Yeah.
that goes positively, we may want to have you do that presentation on a Tuesday or Thursday Volta call to share it wider with the community as well. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully that would be a good time frame so that everybody gets informed of it.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Anything else, Divya?
No, Scott.
So you've been coordinating with Rohan. You guys have divided up the work in some way as to who will be working on what part of the implementation, I assume.
Yeah. Rohan will be working on ONM adapter part, and I'll be working on OCTL related stuff and OLT adapter part.
Okay, great.
That is what we have decided.
Okay, great. That sounds great. Anything else, Divya?
No, just we are waiting. Means we are waiting to complete this design so we can start implementation.
Yeah, let's try to wrap the design up as quickly as we can. I'll make sure that David and I and anyone else who is providing advice on it that we try to help out as efficiently as we can to move the design along so that you guys are unblocked and can start implementing.
Yeah.
And we appreciate all the design work you're doing. I know you're doing a lot of work on that document behind the scenes, updating it and going through and thinking about how we're going to implement the various etcd keys and such. So that's all very good work there. And we look forward. I think it's going to be a good implementation once we get it in. I think hopefully we'll solve the logging and configuration thing for all time here.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, next up would be Ganesh. Ganesh, do you want to give your status?
Yeah, Scott. This week, this Thursday, I will demonstrate the importer and exporter. There are a few parameters we were talking last week, right? So that's on plan. And last week I spent some time on BAL migration activities. So probably in line to the discussions from Saurabh So probably I'll be moving my activities on BAL migration. So yeah, so that was it I did last week.
Okay, thanks a lot. Do you still have a patch outstanding on the making the ID a label in the
Yes,
matrix?
yes, I'll close on that. I'll push the code, and this week I'll close that item and this demo part.
Okay, great. Thanks a
So
lot.
what is BAL migration? So what is BAL migration, Ganesh?
There is BAL 3.2 software. There's a separate brigade. So I'm just started. So I
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to
yeah.
explore. Yeah.
So you will make corresponding changes in adapter.
No, Dinesh, I don't know what will be there. I'm just started exploring, understanding the brigade, and I'll just attend the first call this week. So I'm not really
Okay,
clear about so what I'm going to do, but most likely some activities in that area I'm going to work on.
sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, Dinesh. Thank you. Okay, Scott. So that's it from my side.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ganesh. Next up would be Ankar. Ankar, let's do your status and then try to get to Rohan so we can get his status and circle back around to the presentation you wanted to do and hope we have some time to go through that.
Yeah, so Scott, so I have raised a review request of SIBA 893 and 894. So these are the on-demand implementation. So basic code changes of protobuf as well as a CLI command implementation. But currently I can see the Jenkins is currently failing due to the some weird issues. The first issue I got is like there is some code coverage package that Jenkins is not able to find. So that was the failure issue. So maybe I'll run this 2 more times and check whether the Jenkins get passed. And after that, I'm working on the issues like the error I'm facing out. So the I have removed one error, but there is still one error I'm getting. So I can do the presentation on that.
Okay, great. Yeah, I will look at those two stories you submitted patches on, and I'll look at Jenkins to see what it's complaining about. Sometimes those Jenkins errors can be transient and they'll go away if you retry. Sometimes not. So we'll try to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, is that it, Ankar?
Yeah, that's it from us.
Okay, Rohan, would you like to give your status?
Yeah, hi Scott. So last week I've actually created one Jira ticket for that Seba hardware pod setup, which we discussed last week. So there are few equipments which are still not available. So once they are available, I'll update you on that. And meanwhile, I've picked a logging issue along with Divya on OpenAvenue adapters. And I also went through the design document which Divya has prepared. And like there are few doubts which I had, so I had discussed with her also on that. So when the design documents get confirmed, then I'll start the implementation for that.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for taking up those issues. What do you expect is the time frame for the hardware pod?
Well, I've informed my management. I haven't received like how much time it will take, but yeah, I'll update you once it is there.
Sure. Yeah. If you need any help, we have our developer relations staff and such can try to help facilitate getting the right resources to the right people. So if you run into any issues, just please keep me up to date on that.
Yeah, sure, Scott. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Rohan. Anything else, Rohan?
No, that's it from my side.
Okay, so Ankar, would you like me to hand presentation rights over to you to show your slides on what you wanted to ask about?
Yes.
Okay, you should have presenter rights now.
Okay. So just let me know once my screen get visible to you.
Yeah, I can see it here.
Okay, so basically, so we will talk about on-demand test API work status. So we will go on these modules, that is in on-demand test API. We will discuss about high-level design, after the flow diagram and code changes, and what the problem currently I'm facing on. So in high-level diagram, as Scott you aware about it, we have a gRPC client which is operator will implement it. We can implement name proxy, and where name proxy can do the request in Volta for the on-demand test API request. And once the test action is accepted by the ONU, it will send the success code to the Volta, and based on that, after some time it will generate the results. So we have decided this high level design. So in next slide I will discuss about the flow diagram, where I have targeted currently Volta component. So I'm working on Volta implementation, where I just targeted CLI as a on-demand implementation stuff. So basically we will move this CLI call to the name proxy call, so it's the easier one. So the thing is that, let me explain you the flow diagram. So in flow diagram, so as you are aware about it, so in Volta 2.x we have different component called CLI, RW core, adapters, and the finally is OLT and ONU. So basically I have implemented this start OMCI test command with this ID is the ONU ID. Once we hit this command from the CLI command, it will go to the RW core, which is again a Volta core repository, and in this read write core we will form this on-demand test action, and we will hit the ONU adapter API component. That is we are loading here. So based on the adapter side, so in our case we are targeting Broadcom ONU adapter, so we will load this adapter based on the device ID type, and we can hit like we can send this call to the compose adapter open ONU component. So here the communication is happening through the Kafka, and after that this OMCI test action will directly go through the ONU through OLT. So basically this communication is happening through the Kafka only. But currently the problem is happening when I'm sending this on-demand test action from the RW core to the compose adapter ONU. So firstly I'm getting here the error, that is a deferred callback, which is I have resolved it. And the second error is, you are aware about it, so it's a watchdog timeout error. So basically it says that it is failed to schedule the request in OMCI channel. So basically the deferred callback, so I'll explain this slide more, and then after that we will go for the code changes. So basically why I'm getting this deferred callback error when I'm just sending the request from the RW core to the adapter ONU component. So once the OMCI test action is triggered, so basically it will return me a deferred object, and the RW core is expecting me an object of type protobuf. So that was not there previously. So I have modified that code with saying that if the request is successfully sent out to the ONU, then we can send a success protobuf object, and if not, then we can send a failure protobuf object. In that way the request response for this RW core and the adapter OpenONU is working properly. But the thing is that, so currently I'm facing problem with while scheduling a request to the OpenOMCI channel, because when I hit this OMCI code, I'm getting watchdog timeout error here. So this is the only one error I left with. I'm debugging how we can solve it. So let's move ahead and talking about the code changes. In core side, so in protobuf side, basically I have implemented a RPC call with start OMCI test action. This is a post call with the parameter would be the device ID, and in test response, so as I said, I have implemented this success and failure response. Based on this, we can categorize whether my OMCI test action is successfully accepted by the ONU or it is rejected by the ONU by using this failure command.
And that is the status of starting the test, not the result from the test. That's just
No. It's only a status. Yeah, starting the state only.
okay.
Yes, test only. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, since we are on the top of the hour, if people need to drop off, feel free to. We are recording this, and I will make a point of getting the recording up on the YouTube channel today, in case anyone does have to drop off and you want to catch up on this. Continue, please, Ankar.
Yeah, so let's talk about some RW core changes. So basically here I just have shown adapter proxy changes. So this is the final file where we can call the OpenONU adapter. So here, so as per the Kane suggested me to have required response to be true. So I have added this field also. And this is a core side changes where previously it was not getting me a response, but today I tried with this protobuf changes and I'm able to get the response. So this is just for information I have added it. In a pi volta side, the first call would be in pi volta, the basically when the call is made from RW core to the OpenONU adapter, the first method would be the file would be the adapter request facet file. In that I have added this custom method like start OMCI test. This is the entry point for the OpenONU adapter where we can get the call, and we are loading the required adapters here and calling the start OMCI test to invoke the test action. So up to here, my call is going to the file called brcm OpenOMCI ONU. From here I can able to trigger the OMCI test action. But currently what the problem I'm facing is I'm facing this watchdog timeout error. So basically it is failing to schedule my task onto the OMCI channel. So I'm just debugging this issue, why it is failing. So if in community or anyone can help me on this point, then that would be a great help from to solve this error.
Yeah, so you're expecting this is down at the pi volta level where this is failing?
Yes, Scott.
Yeah, I don't have any immediate thoughts about this other than it seems like what you're doing should be an OMCI request like any other. So I'm surprised. I'm surprised you're getting a timeout. Yeah, I wonder if there's anything malformed in the request in the ONU. Well, if the ONU was not liking the request, it would probably send back an error, I would assume. So it's we'll have to try to get some community help on this, because nothing jumps out at me obviously why you'd be getting a timeout on this particular request, but not others.
Okay, so
I have seen similar some time back, like watchdog timeout. There is a timeout to mention the configuration of ONU adapter, right? So when there is a sequence of OMCI transaction happening, so as it is in a Python, as it runs in a twisted framework, right? So everything will be handling at one shot, and the new request of OMCI request will not be addressed within that timestamp. So it gets expired within that timestamp. And even if the response comes back after 10 seconds, this won't be considered the other end. So it should be responded within the 10 seconds. If you try to extend the watchdog timeout, then it will be processed. But I'm worried if this happening for one single ONU, when you scale up to the 10 or hundreds or ONUs, then it will be a peak point where this won't be addressed even after extending the timeout as well. You got my point?
Yeah, I got it. So basically, you're
So the
saying
window
is
size is 10 seconds. So the response should be done within the 10-second itself. It will do a retry after 10 seconds. Again, it will wait for the response of that particular request itself. Even the older request, if it is addressed also, it won't be considered for the next retry. So the window frame is 10 seconds. If you try to probably increase the timeout, this will be solved for now. But when you have more number of ONUs, there actually lies the point.
But there's no reason why this should be taking longer than 10 seconds as they're on card. This is just the response to come back and say that the ONU began the test. This is not the result when the test is complete, right?
yes, only response we are expecting. And previously it was done within one second, I guess, within 1 second only for the periodic polling.
Probably even the stats are getting pushed, and along with too many OMCI packets are getting exchanged. So that might be like the threading as it's a single core basis, right? So it might be queued up, but might not be within the window frame. You can just increase that timeout and you can give a try. This error should be moved out if you increase the timeout size.
Okay.
But I also you can test with some hundreds of ONUs before going ahead with that approach, because when you actually scale for some 10 or hundreds of ONUs, we may see a lot of fluctuation here.
No, basically 10.
But
Yeah. Okay. So basically 10-second works for the periodic polling. So I'm just wondering why this 10-second timeout is not working for the on-demand test action. So I'm just figuring out, is there any other for this on-demand actions where a synchronization or asynchronization call, how it works basically.
Yeah, so I think maybe your suspicion on car is that even if you increase the timeout, you still wouldn't get the response. That it's not a matter of it taking too long. It's a matter of, for some reason, it didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about it. So basically, from the northbound to the southbound adapters, we are going it for the synchronization one, and once we receive there, we are just coming back. So and the call is always in async manner only. So I'm just thinking, is there any other way we need to take care of?
Was this test done with the BBSIM or the actual hardware?
It is with the actual hardware.
Okay. Probably you can give a try with the BBSIM, and because I hope it's not with respect to the hardware, but just to sort it out with few combinations.
Yeah, it may be the case that
try with the.
It may be the case that BBSIM doesn't support this particular OMCI call. Yeah, I don't think BBSIM has great support for any PM related and self-testing features at this time, but it'd be interesting to verify that.
Or probably the ONU is actually taking time to respond. Might we can give a try with another set of hardware, just the ONU.
Yeah, I will try that.
This
also.
Is clear that the ONU is actually not responding for the timestamp.
Yeah, actually, I will try that.
Previous.
Yeah, I think these are some good suggestions. Try increasing the timeout and see if you get any response back. If you never get a response, then assume that it's it's not a matter of it taking too long, but it's a matter of something did not work right, and no response came back for some reason. And also, if you have other hardware, try it on other hardware. I will, yeah. If you send me a Slack message with the patch, I will look at it again myself. And we can also try to find some more OMCI and Pi Volta people in the community who, if we describe the issue to them, maybe they can spot something in the patch that we didn't do something that was necessary to get that request and response to flow through Pi Volta properly.
Okay. Okay. So maybe I can submit my patch tomorrow, and I can give you that for the review.
Yeah, get the patch in, and yeah, we'll get some eyes on it, including mine, and see if we can spot some reason why it's getting hung up on this timeout.
Okay. Okay, Scott. Yeah.
Just to clarify, the problem you're seeing is for some particular type of a message, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
After that, yeah. So after the request, test request,
okay,
there's the other.
Maybe you can try the, I'm sure, your infrastructure code is all correct, right? So maybe the one which the one which BBSIM provides, right? Whatever the message, right? If you can try it out on the, like a closed environment which is a working supported on the BBSIM, and your code works on that. And then once you have some kind of a working model, then you can extend that to the new test, the new the message. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay, I got it. So basically, I'll do that.
Yeah,
The
it's like a
BBC.
two-step process, but at least you guaranteed that first step, what you have, your code, your changes, and the working one works, right? Then at least you're confident that what your changes are, you're confident on your changes. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
That's
I got
my
it.
side.
Yeah.
That's my side. It takes an extra day, but yeah, what can we do?
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I'll first check whether these whatever stuff I'm doing that is supported by BBC. Then that would be easy way to
you can hack your code to just to send the message for what BBSIM is supporting. Just doesn't matter, right? You want to change, you want to test, you want to ensure that your changes are correct, right? First thing.
Okay. Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
so Dilip, what you're suggesting is send some other message than an OMCI test. If BBSIM doesn't support OMCI test, send some other message that BBSIM does support, and just see if BBSIM, if you got the response from BBSIM within the timeout.
Yeah, make sure that his
does seem
code
like
is
a useful technique.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
Anything else, Ankar?
No, that's it from my side.
Yeah, good. We'll try to help out with this, and thanks for putting the presentation together. It's been helpful to see this coming together, and that illustrating it with that presentation helps us see how the parts fit together. I do think maybe once we get this working, developing this presentation into a presentation in a short demo and presenting it in a Volta meeting might be handy. But yeah, good work so far, and we'll try to get to the bottom of this issue.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Scott.
Sure. That should be everything that was on the agenda. Do we have anything else anyone would like to talk about before we close out the meeting today?
Yeah. Hi, Scott. This is Girish from Infosys. I guess you would have seen there's a new joined today. Scott, actually, I've been Scott, actually, I've been I think discussing the design of this logging with Divya. So I just joined in case some discussion happens. So I actually just had 2 or 3 queries which you can probably just spend a few minutes and then probably can close off. Would that be okay?
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah. So as we were discussing, right, I was discussing Divya, right? I think the challenge I think we are facing in terms of design is to find out a design where we have to do a less number watch, right, on the etcd keys to identify any changes happening in the logging and config. Because as you would have seen, right, in the design we have logging can be configured for a component class, a component name, or a pod name, right? And all these are hierarchical, configuration. So the challenge I think we are facing is to come up with a design where we have to watch as many less number of keys in the etcd. So I just want to understand, I think your opinion on like the way we can reduce the watch to a bit to some extent is by kind of doing some duplication of information in etcd. So would that be better to like do some redundant, so store some redundant information in etcd under multiple hierarchies, and then I think we would have to do a less number of watch, but that would mean that while we are inserting that configuration into etcd from VOLTHA, we may have to do some intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, without looking at the specifics, I don't necessarily have an issue with that. If you know the implementation with etcd reducing the number of watches that you have to do it demands additional metadata and such be put into keys, I think that's a reasonable compromise, though I would have to look at the specifics to give a more specific answer than that. But I'm not opposed to it in theory.
Okay, so some amount of small redundancy in data, right, in the DB, but that would probably reduce a lot of CPU cycles. I think that's probably the approach we are going with. Um,
Yeah, like I
but
say, in theory, without looking at the specifics, that sounds like a reasonable compromise to me.
okay, and do you feel this etcd, right, VOLTHA would be pushing configuration into it, but are we looking at some OSS system directly pushing into it, or are we looking at some kind of creating API for this logging configuration in the future? As of now, I understand we are kind of looking at VOLTHA to do it directly, right?
Yeah,
But
so
in the future.
yeah, David and I have had some discussions on this, and David certainly has some thoughts about it. So we should probably involve him. But one of the thoughts David had was that Northbound System could shell out to VoltCTL, I think, and have VoltCTL do it on its behalf. Another thing they could do is they could, because VoltCTL does provide packages, perhaps you could, include VoltCTL the sort of the client code in VoltCTL as a package in your Northbound system.
Okay.
My personal thought on it was I like the idea of abstracting etcd behind a Volta API, and I kind of like the thought of implementing some kind of a proxy where we had a Volta API and it sort of hid the etcd specifics underneath that. But like I say, we need to involve David in that discussion as well, because he and I, our opinions differ a little bit on that, and I think we've had to come together and compromise on that a bit. But I think any of these solutions are viable. But you're right. Ultimately, the operator will have a system that sits above Volta and will be maybe making these calls.
Okay. So I think I'm just concerned that I think because if we are kind of taking that approach to do some redundancy of information, then I think there would be some intelligence in the VOLTCTL, right, which would probably duplicate some information into different trees structure, right? And if operator would be directly writing into etcd, then I think operator would also have to have that additional intelligence, right? Whichever thing they do, right? So That's fine. I think we probably, let's, probably dig out this design a bit further, and then probably we'll be in a better position to discuss and look at the pros and cons of approaches.
Yeah, I think when David and I originally talked this through, we did not have it in mind that you would need this additional intelligence in the client, so that assuming we do decide to go with your proposal on that, putting that additional intelligence and redundant information, it does seem like that may influence the choice that you might want this sort of middleware layer that has that intelligence in it, rather than have the operator have to duplicate this intelligence in his own system.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, what you're saying makes sense, and as we revise the design, new things come in and it kind of percolates through, and that might influence other parts of the design. So I think we definitely need to get to the bottom of that and try to sort out what this etcd schema is, and then if it has become complex, look at where we will implement the logic and the intelligence that manipulates the etcd database.
Yeah, right. Okay, I think these are just 2 queries I had, so I think that's all. I think thanks.
Okay, great. Yeah, I saw there was some traffic between David and Divya and Slack this morning, but being in the meeting, I haven't really had a chance to read it. But I will go back and read it, and we can include you in that traffic, or we can schedule another follow-up meeting if we would like to deep dive any of this. But let's try to digest the proposed changes to the schema.
Yeah, sure. I think give us a couple of days, and then we should be able to come up with a draft of it, and then we can probably then converse and
okay, great.
dive into it. Yeah.
Great, yeah, and thank you as well for your effort on the design effort with logging. I think as I was saying to Divya earlier, I think this is very much time well spent trying to get this right now, and hopefully come up with a design that will last. So this is all very good, effort well spent, and may generalize beyond logging. So it's very good that we're doing this exercise.
Yeah, I think I'm also kind of discussing with Divya, because we want to probably do it right first time rather than reiterating over it again.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else, Girish?
No, that is all. I think. Thanks.
And anything else from anyone else? Okay, well, we will go ahead and wrap up, and thank you everyone for staying through the extended meeting. And I think we've got a lot of we went through a lot of good material today, and I will keep in touch with people over Slack during the week, and I'll see you all again on Monday. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.